Stop explaining yourself after the boundary. Do that once, and people start telling on themselves without realizing you changed the whole game. The ones who liked your access will suddenly act confused, hurt, distant, or weirdly offended. Not because your boundary was harsh, but because your compliance was feeding something hidden in them. You know that feeling when respect disappears the second you stop being endlessly available? The cold reply, the fake laugh, the delayed text, the heavy sigh across the table. That shift is your evidence, because normal people adjust while entitled people take limits personally. So here's the move. Say it once, cleanly, then stop explaining. Try, "That doesn't work for me," and let their discomfort breathe in the silence. That simple sentence pulls the mask off faster than arguments ever will. Because resentment is not caused by boundaries. Resentment is caused by losing unearned access. That is the part weak advice never tells you. They say communicate more, soften it, smile bigger, reassure harder, and keep everything comfortable. But comfort for the wrong people usually means convenience at your expense. And the second you remove that convenience, they do not feel rejected. They feel exposed. That coworker who keeps interrupting you was never just talkative. He was comfortable stepping over you. That friend who only calls during emergencies was never overwhelmed. She was managing a human resource. That relative who jokes at your expense was never playful. They were measuring what you tolerate. When you stop tolerating it, resentment rises like smoke from something already burning underneath. Here's the crazy part. Your boundary did not create the ugliness. It just turned the lights on. And ugly people hate fluorescent truth. That is why one calm boundary can trigger reaction bigger than the situation itself. You decline one favor, and suddenly, they are listing everything they ever did for you. You answer one message late, and suddenly they are calling you different, cold, or arrogant. You refuse one disrespectful joke, and suddenly you are the one killing the vibe. Read that properly. You are not watching honesty. You are watching entitlement lose oxygen. And when entitlement starts choking, it always looks offended before it looks weak. That is why resentment is such a useful signal. Resentment shows you who benefited from your lack of enforcement. It shows you who mistook your patience for permission. It shows you who called you kind only while you were easy to use. Most people never catch this because they get distracted by the emotional performance. The hurt tone, the wounded eyes, the long pause, the sudden silence after your no. But performance is not proof. The proof is simple. Did they respect the boundary, or did they punish you for having one? That answer will tell you more than years of polite conversation. So do this once. Set one clear limit without apology, then refuse to defend it twice. Watch who becomes sarcastic. Watch who gets distant. Watch who suddenly acts busy, irritated, or morally superior. That resentment is not random. It comes from a private belief that your time, energy, and softness belong to them. And that belief never survives direct limits without leaking bitterness. Here is where it gets dangerous. Some people do not resent your boundary loudly. They resent it quietly. They smile in your face, then start excluding you, delaying things, or testing new angles. This is why you need observation more than emotion. Emotion gets baited. Observation stays clean. If you want to know who resents your boundaries, stop listening only to words. Study behavior after access gets reduced. Do they respect your time more, or do they start finding little ways to sting you? Do they become clearer, or do they become colder? Do they adjust like adults, or retaliate like insecure children wearing adult clothes? That pattern matters because resentment rarely announces itself directly. It leaks through tone. It leaks through timing. It leaks through little punishments designed to make your boundary feel expensive. A manipulator does not always argue with your no. Sometimes they make your life awkward until you volunteer a yes next time. That is an emotional trap. And the trap only works if you need everybody comfortable more than you need yourself protected. That is why doing it once matters so much. One boundary, enforced once, becomes an X-ray. It shows who values you and who values access to you. There is a huge difference. One person likes your company. The other likes your availability. One person respects your peace. The other resents anything they cannot control. Here is your next weapon when someone reacts badly to a simple limit. Say, "I already answered that," then stop moving emotionally. Do not rush to fill the silence. Do not smile to soften the impact. Do not add 10 extra sentences trying to look reasonable. Reasonable people do not need 12 explanations to hear one clear answer. Only opportunists need repetition, because repetition creates openings. Every extra explanation gives them another handle to grab. They twist your words, question your tone, drag in old favors, or act confused on purpose. Confusion is one of their favorite costumes. Because if they can turn your boundary into a discussion, they regain a little control. That is why short sentences are powerful. Short sentences leave fewer doors unlocked. Say, no. Say, not this time. Say, I'm unavailable. Say, that's not happening. Say it like a closed gate, not a nervous suggestion. You are not writing an essay. You are setting policy. And policy makes insecure people deeply uncomfortable, because policy does not care about their moods. Moods are their favorite leverage. A sigh, a guilt trip, a disappointed face, a fake joke, a sudden withdrawal. That whole routine only works when you start managing their emotions for them. Stop doing that once and watch resentment bloom. Here's what many viewers need to hear clearly. People who resent your boundaries were already benefiting from your lack of them. That does not make you weak. It makes you unfiltered. And unfiltered access always attracts people with hidden hunger. Some want control. Some want convenience. Some want status over you. Some just want proof that they can still make you bend. That last one is more common than most people realize. For many toxic people, the real reward is not the favor itself. The real reward is watching you betray yourself to keep them comfortable. That is why they push over tiny things. A last-minute request. A disrespectful joke. A late-night text. A favor framed like an emergency. These are not random moments. They are small tests. And every test asks the same question. Can I still move you? The moment the answer becomes no, resentment enters the room. Because your boundary interrupts something deeper than convenience. It interrupts hierarchy. Some people only feel strong when you stay soft in the wrong places. Some only feel important when you keep making space around their chaos. Some only feel secure when your standards stay blurry. So when you sharpen those standards once, their insecurity gets loud. That is not your guilt. That is their exposure. And exposure feels like disrespect to people who are hiding behind your flexibility. Watch how fast fake closeness changes once your access has conditions. The person who called you family suddenly becomes formal. The person who called you loyal suddenly questions your character. The person who said they understand boundaries suddenly hates yours specifically. That contradiction tells the whole story. Healthy people like clarity, even when the answer is inconvenient. Unhealthy people like access, even when the access is damaging you. That is why resentment is such a gift when you know how to read it. It saves time. It saves energy. It saves you from building loyalty with people who only loved your usefulness. Here is another cold line when someone keeps pressing after your answer. Say, "You heard me," and let the room stay uncomfortable. That line works because it names the truth without feeding the drama. The problem is not your clarity. The problem is their refusal to accept limits from someone they underestimated. That is another hidden layer here. Resentment often shows up strongest in people who thought they had you figured out. They built a private map of your reactions. They knew you would laugh it off. They knew you would help last minute. They knew you would answer quickly. They knew you would keep peace. Then one day, you do this once. You say no. You stay calm. You do not explain. And suddenly their map is useless. That is why they seem irritated by something so small. It is not small to them. You just broke their prediction system. And people who depend on predictability hate losing their emotional shortcut into you. This happens at work all the time. The second you stop taking on extra chaos, somebody starts acting personally offended by professionalism. You simply say you need notice, and they call you difficult. You ask not to be interrupted, and they call you sensitive. You decline unpaid labor, and they call you not being a team player. Translate all of it correctly. Difficult often means no longer convenient. Sensitive often means no longer silent. Not a team player often means no longer exploitable. See how fast the language changes when your boundaries start costing people something. That is not truth. That is negotiation through shame. Family does this too, sometimes worse. Because family often feels licensed to cross lines strangers would never dare approach. They ask invasive questions, make backhanded comments, and call it concern or honesty. Then you answer once with calm distance, and suddenly you are disrespectful. No, you are just no longer emotionally public property. That difference matters. And if someone hates that difference, they were benefiting from the confusion. Dating exposes it even faster. Tell someone you do not do last-minute plans, and watch whether they respect structure or resent limits. Say you are unavailable after a certain hour, and watch who suddenly gets charming or irritated. Decline one manipulative guilt play, and watch whether they get clearer or colder. Early resentment is data. Use it. Do not romanticize it. Do not call it passion. Do not call it chemistry. Do not call it fear of losing you. A lot of what people call attraction is just frustration at losing easy access. That is why boundaries are magnetic for healthy people and irritating for toxic ones. Healthy people feel safer around clarity. Toxic people feel blocked by it. And blocked people reveal their true character fast. Here is the wild part. Sometimes resentment does not mean they want your time. Sometimes it means they wanted your lower position. Your boundary threatens people who liked feeling above you. They enjoyed interrupting, correcting, teasing, dismissing, or summoning you whenever they wanted attention. Your limit says the old hierarchy is over. Now they have to approach you like an equal. Weak people hate equality when they were enjoying the discount. So they resent your boundary, not because it harmed them, but because it humbled them. That is why your calm matters so much. Anger gives them something to point at. Calm gives them a mirror. A neutral face, a delayed response, a clean sentence, and zero emotional chase. That combination makes manipulators itch, because they cannot grab silence the way they grab insecurity. Silence is an invisible leash cutter. Use it. After your boundary lands, shut up. Let them reveal the next layer. The guilt trip. The sarcasm. The cold shoulder. The fake confusion. A sweet comeback with hidden pressure underneath. Each one is a confession, if you know how to hear it. Here is a strong one for fake concern. Say, "I'm good," and give them nothing else. That line protects you because fake concern survives on details. The more you explain, the more they enter your space pretending to help. No details, no hooks. No hooks, no control. And that is what resentment really is in these moments. It is the face people make when the old hook no longer catches. Think of it like this. Your old pattern was an unlocked door in a bad neighborhood. Your new boundary is not cruelty. It is a lock. The wrong people are not upset because the lock is unfair. They are upset because the lock works. That emotional reframe changes everything. You stop asking, "Why are they mad at me?" and start asking, "What were they getting from me before?" That question will save you from a lot of slow poison relationships. Because slow poison rarely feels dangerous at first. It feels normal. It feels familiar. It feels like being needed. Then you wake up exhausted, resentful, anxious, and strangely invisible inside your own life. That is what happens when your boundaries stay negotiable too long. You become a place people visit, not a person they respect. So do this once and study the reactions without flinching. Say no once. Delay the reply once. Refuse the joke once. Decline the guilt once. Leave the bait hanging once. And watch who starts resenting your boundaries more than respecting your humanity. That reaction is information. Do not argue with information. Use it. Step back from people who get hostile when your access becomes conditional. Get quieter around people who punish simple clarity. Get colder with people who need your confusion to feel comfortable. This does not make you hard. It makes you accurate. And accuracy is power. Because once you see resentment for what it is, you stop personalizing other people's disappointment. Their frustration is not proof you did something wrong. It is often proof your boundary finally touched the exact place they were hiding. The place where entitlement lived. The place where insecurity fed. The place where your softness was being spent like borrowed money. That is their weakness, not your failure. So try one clean boundary this week and do not explain it twice. Tell me what reaction it exposed in the comments. Subscribe for more practical weapons and stay expensive to misuse.